Hey, it's Anthony Meisner with Land Title. I came to bring you your first to know update for August. So let's look back at July data and see what we see. Now, average sales price, very consistent with where we were last year, a little bit down 0.6%, nothing to be hugely concerned about yet. The median also telling the same story. More inventory is keeping those prices compressing. So we are definitely keeping an eye on this. You're seeing in other submarkets where they're seeing more of a price drop, but of course, across greater Metro Denver, lots of buyer demand still. The one thing that we are seeing a lot of compression in is the average sales price for the condo townhouse market. The condo townhouse market is down 7.3% from this time a year ago. Now that's a pretty big shift. Look at it, we're at $420,000. We had $454 last year, but the median is saying the same thing. We've been seeing this all year. We saw it last year too, where we saw that trend down, and that fairly rapid decrease in price really shouldn't be too much of a surprise, right? We saw this when '08 happened in the Great Recession. And so since this is the next real market cycle, we should expect the same thing to happen. But it is a tough pill to swallow if you are a homeowner who owns an attached property. Time solves all problems in real estate, right? This is bound to come back up, but it's just a matter of when. Now, I think the one thing that we can look at to help tell that story, average sales price tells the same thing, right? I mean, we've been seeing that condo townhouse price erode 5.5% again below this time last year. The single family home, with more and more inventory stacking up, we really are seeing prices drop by about 1% year over year. So they're slipping a little bit. It is something to keep your eye on. Now, if you look at supply, this is really why, right? We have 13,000 units of inventory. It's the third straight month we've had that much inventory in the market. It's 27% more inventory than this time last year. Our new listings coming to market represent 5,000 of those, right? It's not much above where we were a year ago. We've been trending very similarly. So seller appetite is just kind of curbed because there's just so much inventory. But there are sellers on the sidelines still. We all see it all the time, right? They're just kind of waiting. Now, here's what's really happening. You have 5,000 sellers and you have 3,700 buyers on the market. There's that delta, right? So inventory is continuing to stack up, and it's why you're feeling this market. Now, this is a good sign. We're still 5% above where we were this time last year. We're seeing a little bit more buyer activity, and it could largely just due to stable interest rates. We've been in this market for 3 years now, but it's hard to say. Basically, nothing too exciting, but also this isn't bad news. This is good news that we're at least seeing a little bit more buyers out there in the marketplace. The month supply of inventory, though, it's starting to get a little bit more concerning. NAR would say a balanced market is 4 to 6 months. Denver Metro feels a lot like that, right? About 4 months is where I would think a balance probably feels. We are seeing a lot of concessions, though, and that leads me to believe that buyers have the upper hand here, which is maybe not so much of a balanced market. That is 20% different than it was a year ago. So more inventory, similar buyer attitudes. What does that lead to in our market activity? What it means is it's taking a full 10 days longer to go under contract than it did this time last year. The one thing that is kind of surprising is those percentage close price to list price hasn't slipped more than it has. And I think that's largely due to in this marketplace is being compensated by concessions, and it doesn't get reported in that figure there. So when you see price drops and concessions, keep in mind that that price or that percentage close price to list price does not take in that into account. So that's an additional factor. There is definitely a lot of pressure there, though. We see 60 or so % of our homes going under contract with concessions in those numbers. So it's interesting to watch. The most important thing, though, this is like what's going to happen in the future, right? So showing activity, it tells a lot of the story. Now, there are more homes on the market, so a drop of 10% in showings per listing is not really that big of a deal. It actually might mean that more buyers are out there because we have more inventory than that 10% drop. 4.6 showings per listing, though, is a hard one if you're a seller, right? One showing a week, and it takes an average of 14 showings to go under contract, very similar to last year, 2023. So it just takes a while to get enough showing traffic in the door to find that right buyer. And that's that, constant communication we're having to send to our buyers and sellers. Buyers, the best houses, they get this amount of showings in the first week or two. If they're priced really aggressively, aggressively being maybe more appropriately or below the competition. And, if you're in a tougher location or if it's not in the best condition, it just might take 40, 50 days to go under contract. We're seeing that in the data. So hopefully this helps. If you have questions, concerns, please reach out to me. I'm Anthony at Land Title. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Catch you next time.